Right, I think we're right to go. This is vk3sl test missions on 160 metres, afternoon missions, and this may be the last one for a while. There may be a live segment tomorrow, maybe, and after that I'm away for a while, possibly until next Thursday. So we'll see what happens thereafter. So watch this space. There is a blog spot where any news will be updated, and there's also the YouTube page as well. So you can find my YouTube channel where these are being streamed and logged. So there we go. That's something where people can refer to in the event of discontinuation. So yeah, we have to be flexible. I need to have a live outside this room as well. So we'll see how things progress here on. Anyhow, we're here initially as a bit of a corona stopgap, but things have progressed and it's become a bit of a vent of sorts, a chance to sort of vent the collection here and to explore new things as well. So yeah, it has a multitude of purposes, and it sort of culminates with our late night missions on Friday nights as well. So yes, and that's now co-hosted with Mr. Frank, Mr. 3JR, who assists. So we had a great time last night, playing all manner of things. Anyhow, we will have a short program tonight. We'll see how we go, and we always start with a Vita Tonic. Yes, that's the tradition at this point. We listen to these old associated recorded program service transcription records, Hill and Dale discs, and as I always remind people, these are the earliest examples of hi-fi in our mainstream media. They are tremendously, well recorded. They're recorded on vinyl, a red vinyl, sort of an early composite vinyl, and at 33 1/3, which was before 33 1/3 became a mainstream speed. So these are strictly transcription recordings. Anyhow, today we'll have another one of these Brad Collins, which I surmise is probably Bob Crosby. I'm thinking it is Mr. Crosby. And they're just tremendous recordings. I just had a sample before and it just sounds amazing in here. So encourage people to get their big speaks, turn up the volume and have a listen. We're going to hear now The Island in the West Indies, and this is from the Siegfried Follies of 1936. This is vk3sl testing.
Romantic isle in the West Indies, no airplanes above. We'll watch the turtles at their shindies, you and me and the Caribbean and love.
What a spirited track. That was probably Bob Crosby and the band. We'll continue with another song called Wake Up and Sing. This is vk3sl testing.
Robin, if you do some throbbing, you'll be humming coming home at night. Wake up and sing, la 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 la, be a bob white. Pucker up and whistle, and you find that this'll make you whistle coming home at night. While the coffee is perking, keep the vocal cords working. Ta-da-dee-dee, ta-da-da-da, off key, on key, any old key, just wake up and sing, la 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 la, start the day right. It's a great builder upper and a roundabout supper, you'll be humming coming home at night.
vk3sl test missions on 160 metres. These are the dinner sessions between 5 and a bit after 6 each day. We've been doing these for a couple of months now. And we've just been listening to some Vitatone classics, recordings made in the wide range format. Hill and Dale pressing, but using the latest Western Electric equipment in the mid-1930s. That recording from about 1936. But extraordinary sound for that time. You don't really associate hi-fi recordings with the 30s, but they had it all worked out. All right, then we're going to change gear and have a listen to some oboe music. Last night, Frank and I were chatting about the oboe and what a great instrument it was, and I mentioned that I had a recording of a Czech-Australian oboist, Yuri Tanchebudek, who settled in Australia, and he made a recording for Brolga, the Brolga label, the Recording Society of Australia. It's an early microgroove made in the 1950s. I don't know much about this label, and I'm keen to know more because it looks like they championed some pretty out-there music for the time, and that's not the sort of thing you sort of associate with Australia. So it's an interesting one. It says these works were recorded on tape by Kevin McBeath. So who is Kevin McBeath, I'd like to know? Recorded in 1956 on tape. Was it with a buyer? I wonder. Anyhow, they were released on the Brolga label. So I'd love to see a Brolga catalogue and find out more. Now, it's got a few other interesting tangents to this record. The piano accompanist is Margaret Sutherland. Now, she was my piano accompanist when she was in her 80s. I knew Margaret Sutherland really well. I used to go out to her house in Kew, and we used to play Beethoven sonatas together, and she accompanied me in my uni exams. So I knew Margaret Sutherland. She was known as Bunty, That was her nickname. She worked for the BBC for quite a while, and she came back to Australia just after the war and was an accompanist with the ABC, had quite a distinguished career and kept going. And I had the chance to work with her quite a bit. She was a great spirit, great sense of humour. And I would have loved to have talked to her about this record and her association with some of these other musicians. But anyhow, we'll have a listen now to the Paul Hindemith Oboe Sonata with Yuri Tanchabudik and Margaret Schofield. So, this is a work that Hindemith wrote in 1938. For old Hindemith, his music was marked as degenerate. He was by the Nazis. He wasn't actually Jewish himself. He was married to a Jewish woman, and that had complications for him, so he had to flee and eventually went to America. He was a part of that new wave of objectivity in German composition just after the First World War. In fact, I think he was a soldier in the First World War. And his music is quite distinctive. So it's easier. Some people find it easier to access than others. But anyhow, see what you think. The oboe is such a beautiful instrument, even if the music itself is a bit sort of out there. The sound of the instrument is compelling. Now, I'm putting this one through the sound processor because the record is a bit worn, and I'm hoping that all will work well. So let's give it a go. vk3sl test missions, and we'll have a listen now to the music of Paul Hindemith. With any luck. This is a test transmission from vk3sl. Record's finished. I was just inside lighting the fire, and then I was listening to it sounding really good. Actually, it's quite a clean recording. And we're listening to the only record I know on the Brolga label. And it was the Hindemith Sonata we just heard, his oboe sonata, written in 1938, featuring the Czech oboist Yuri Tanzabudek, who immigrated to Australia. Can I tell you a bit about him? Let's see what it says. In his native country, Yuri Tanzabudek was the principal oboist of the Czech Philharmonic Orchestra from 1945 to 1950. While in Prague, he also performed a great deal of chamber music and introduced a number of contemporary British works to Prague audiences. Yeah, he goes on and on about his solo activities. When did he come to Australia? He became professor of oboe at the New South Wales State Conservatorium from 1950 to 53, and then he became the principal oboe of the Victorian Symphony. As well as broadcasting regularly on the ABC, Tanzabudek had appeared many times for Music of Viva Society, blah, 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 blah. August 1956, with the Sydney Symph under Dr. Hans Schmidt Ischerstedt, Tanzabudek gave the world premiere of the Oboe Concerto, specially written for and dedicated to him by the distinguished Czech composer Bohuslav Martinu. There we go. So, and that's the artist. And I think the other side's got, it's Margaret Sutherland's Trio for Oboe and Two Violins. This is a really interesting document. Margaret Sutherland's Australian composer, of course, and I don't know this work at all. So, she was very influenced by Mr. Bax, and lived and worked in England for a while. Now we'll turn this over. The Brolga Recording Society of Australia, BXM02. Trio for oboe and two violins. Who are the fiddle players on this? Anyone we know? Sybil Copeland and John Glickman. I've heard of John Glickman. Anyhow, we'll have a listen to this, recorded in 1956, maybe on a buyer. That's possible. It just may be recorded on a buyer. And I'm looking for the record cleaner. We'll just give this a bit of a clean first, and then we'll be right to start, side 2. And we'll listen to the music of Margaret Sutherland, Trio Sonata. Oh, that's sounding a bit... Have I got am I monitoring? Yes, I am. That's not so good. All right, I think we're ready to go. VK3SL, testing. This is a test transmission from vk3sl. Yes, I am here. It just takes a bit of time. I could hear the record finish, and I didn't know how to anticipate the end on that one. Anyhow, we've been listening to the music of Margaret Sutherland, and that was her trio for oboe and two violins, recording on the Brolga label, the Recording Society of Australia, it says here. It's a 10-inch LP made in 1956. And as I said, I'd like to learn more about this label and also about Mr. Kevin McBeath. I think it's what I haven't got my glasses, I can't see. Yeah, I think that's right. Anyhow, we'll continue for a little bit longer, and on the shelf, on the 10-inch shelf, which I'm sort of rating at the moment, there is a Clef record, which I wouldn't mind having a listen to. It's a specialty jazz label, and you put out sort of more esoteric type jazz, I think. But we'll have a listen to a recording of Artie Shaw. Preparing this now. Artie Shaw and his Gramercy 5. I can't see. I haven't left my glasses inside. I can't see. Isn't that terrible? It's boring, isn't it? Okay, well, we'll just put this on. It's Artie Shaw and his group. It's on Clef. I can read that. I can read Clef Records. And I know it's a long-playing microgroove. And we'll just give it a clean, because it looks like someone's had a pizza off this record. It's not the best. I have to get my Keith Monk's record cleaner out with a little thread, clean them properly, but we'll leave that for a rainy day. Okay, we change gear. This is vk3sl. Oops. Needle in the groove. And we're testing, of course. Nothing else. No entertainment permitted. This is a test transmission of vk3sl. It's becoming a bit of a pattern, isn't it? This multitasking arrangement. Inside doing other stuff, and I am listening, but it takes a little while to come out the back and into the booth. So excuse the delay. It might allow for people to reflect a bit on this excellent music we're listening to. Clef Records. And the music of Artie Shaw and his Gramercy 5 is the name of the group. You can see now. That was a piece called Sequence in B flat. Let's turn it over and have a look. The other side, I've got A Crush on You and The Sad Sack. Well, they're very poetic titles, aren't they? So we'll continue. Clef Records, Artie Shaw, side 2, and be prepared for at least 30 seconds. Of redundancy before I come out again. That's the way of it. Cheers for now. is a test transmission from vk3sl. Made it this time. You've just been listening to Artie Shaw and his Gramercy 5. A recording made on Clef Records. That's the label founded by Norman Granz in the 40s. And yeah, there's a few of them here and they're good. Some layback jazz as a means to modulate the air or modulate the carrier. Is that right? No, we're working in narrowband FM, aren't we? So, anyhow, test missions on 160, and we are almost finished. Now, I think I'll wind up with something a bit different. I actually have been practicing today. This is my Facebook moment, folks, so tune out if you're bored with this sort of thing. I can understand why, but I just have to say that I have been practicing today. I got the cello out, and I spent a couple of hours working on the E-flat major prelude by Bach. It's one of the harder preludes to play because it's got extensions everywhere and lots of shifts, but I just love this piece. It's very organ-like, and I'm not going to play it to you myself. I haven't got it up to standard yet, but maybe by the end of the holidays we'll see. And but I have got a great recording to play, and this will serve as an inspiration to myself as well. So we'll do that, and before doing so, just a reminder that Mr. L may have his missions tonight. I hope he does, and that is on 147.475, so tune into that. And this will be the last of the dinner missions for some time, and probably until at least next Thursday, and then even after that I'm not sure what's going to happen. So if I'm around on Thursday, I'll give it a go, and I'll maybe be able to provide an update as to what future directions are. So we'll go with that arrangement. There may be something live tomorrow as well, so yes, just a question of watching the space. Thank you for your indulgence, and we will now listen to the wonderful, eloquent playing of Pablo Casals with Bach's Cello Suite No. 4, just the prelude. vk3sl testing.